Hey, what's going on, you guys? Welcome to CCxRC. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at some new products from Furitek. I have been a huge fan of Furitek since they came out and really started upping the game for the 24 scale and the mini crawler world in general. So I've got here two of my favorites, the CCx24 based and the Red Cat Ascent 18 based. I just think they're easy to work on, and this handles awesome out of the box. This handles amazing after you do some upgrades to it. We'll talk a little bit about that as we talk about this new product from Furitek. But first, let's get into this. I'm going to go ahead and open up the CCx24 one because that's the one I'm going to be installing. This comes as a kit. There's different variations of these that they're going to be selling. So you got to be careful of what you're picking up. In case you can see, these aren't final production run. They just wrote Red Cat on this one for me. This one said CCx24, and it's just to help me know they've got different mounting options for these. All right, so here is what you get in your package right here. You get the ESC, you get the new Mini Komodo V2 motor, and you get the motor mount that attaches to the transmission in order to space it off there just right and give you room to set your mesh. And then it has the screws in here in order to mount the motor, and it's got double-sided sticky tape so you can stick this to your chassis. This being so small is going to fit into a absolute ton of builds that people are doing. It does have the Bluetooth dongle right here, so it works with their Fury car system. Now I want to talk about this because there's different ones that you can buy. You could just buy this. It's $80 if you just want to buy the Micro Python and use it with what you're already using. But they sell it as a kit that they're calling it's called the Micro Silk kit. And they make it for the TRX-4M, they make it for the Red Cat, and they make it for the CCx24. So you got to make sure you get the right one. The difference is the adapters that they have for the batteries to connect, but also the mounts that they have to mount to the transmission. With the Traxxas, there's just a spacer on here that gets it, and it mounts right up. With the Ascent, it pretty much bolts right on. And so there's little variations in what's needed, and so they have them sold as a kit for $100. So you get your motor and the mounts with these for $100, which is really, really cool. So not a bad deal when you buy it as a bundle like this if you don't already have a motor. But if you already have everything else that you need and you just want to mount it up, you can go a different route for that and just buy, like I said, the Micro Python on its own. So let's talk specs on this. I'm going to go into these and we're going to look at one of them here online as we do this. I'm going to pull up the CCx24 one. So it's $99. Here is what you get. This has the FOC technology in it that many of theirs have. It has a 5 amp BEC in this little guy. So it's less as far as overall amperage. It's down to 25 instead of the 30 that some were and more. This one actually only does, I know that the Lizard Pro was a 30 amp with 50 amp burst. This is 25 amp with 50 amp burst, but it does have a 5 amp BEC, which they say is capable of 5.5 volts or 7.4 volts. So you can get a little bit more servo speed if you want out of it. And it runs 2 or 3S LiPo batteries. I typically just run 2S in my CCx24 still. I know I'm the odd man out at that. But I use the stock batteries that come with them, and they run it pretty good. Every once in a while I might have it just kind of like overdraw, but it hasn't bothered me. I think when guys are running 3S, they may not have some of those issues that I'll run into every once in a while, but it doesn't really bother me. So with this, they've got a 14 pole, 12 slot, high torque motor, 2500 kV. This motor actually can do 2 to 4S. So if you had, the Python Pro or something, it could do 4S, had more amps to it, you'd be able to run this motor with it, this new V2. But in the kit that they're selling, a lot of people are going to be trying to jam these in. Hopefully when I get one of my new builds that was built for me, this is probably going to go in it because of the size, and it currently is running one of the Lizard Pros in order to fit it in there because the Python Pros did get large. And I actually was preferring for a little while the old Lizard Pros that didn't have casing on them because I don't go in water, don't need waterproof like these are. So very similar. You're going to see, we'll open the Red Cat and show you. I won't be getting to install this one right now. I will show you just how much of a fan of Furitek I am. But we'll get you some run footage of this CCx24. We got a comp tonight, so I'm going to get it in there, get it ready to roll. I just stuck that staple right into my thumb. So here's the difference. We got to get a knife. Cut this open here. I know you guys worry when I leave this open, so we'll close it. Little bit different. No mount needed in this one, but it does have a different battery adapter right here that you get with it, so you can plug in to here your battery, which is the red, over, so you can then use your Red Cat batteries. Pretty wild, huh? But the pinion sizes are also different, so the mesh size that you're going to have for these is going to be different between the two based on the transmissions, and so that's another difference that you see between these two motors, and why you want to make sure you get one that's specific, because these are much bigger teeth on here, so you would not be able to use it unless you changed out your spur gear on your CCx24. So that's it. I'm going to make sure I put them back in the right spots, and we will get busy doing this, and then we'll come back with some run footage for you guys. But again, thank you to Furitek. I'll show you, I'm currently already running their stuff in these trucks. So Red Cat Ascent. Here we're running their Unity system. That's running their receiver that pairs right up with your stock radio. So I can just plug this in and bind it up to my stock radio. Have ultra slow driving, absolutely amazing. The nice thing is the on-off switch is right here on the side of it, and we can drive it super slow. No spinning motors on this one, it's all internal, which I kind of like in this particular setup and design because of where all my wires are. But you know, you'll have more room. This Unity definitely is a tight fit in there, but it's actually the perfect amount. Still get full amount of articulation in there. It's not hitting really until the very end where it's hitting the chassis anyway. So we got that mounted up in here, working great. This truck does so good with just a few upgrades. We've got that in here. We've got a nicer Reefs 179 Smart Micro Servo. We've got brass wheels with J Concepts ruptures, but still running the plastic because Dana gave me some metal ones and I lost them. I lost them at the Gauntlet. I took them to install them, and in the mess of that whole weekend and in and out of trucks and cases, got lost. But the drive shafts are the weak point on this. But the Furitek power plant in here has taken this thing next level, and I've actually done really well with this when I've comped it, and it shines. Haven't lowered a suspension, done anything like that with it. Just drives really good. This, however, has done a lot, and this has a lot done to it that is Furitek, because it has just been getting upgraded since the platform started getting the upgrades. In fact, I'm running one of their early scythe chassis. Their carbon fiber scythe chassis still is my go-to truck that I run at all the comps. Old school. This is like one of the early comp chassis made for the CCx24 platform. Again, running their Avatar radio here. I'm a big fan of it. Really easy to hold, drive one-handed, great sensitivity. Every once in a while it will like turn off. Like if you're not driving for a while and you're at a comp and you're waiting on people in front of you and you literally have to power on and off. I think for whatever reason it just cuts power to the receiver. I don't know what it is. So that's the one thing that is kind of weird and odd that I run into with it. But I mean, when I'm actually using it and I can just drive, no issues at all. Just run into issues when people are going slow in the comp stuff. So other than that, Mini Komodo, their transmission in here, the whole transmission is just set in. And then I've got the Python in here, rocking and rolling. Mia's front axles, my Mighty Chihuahua Reefs RC made CCxRC branded servo front. I'm just running aluminum axles in the rear and brass diff covers, and then hard park wheels in order to suck in these a little bit here, keep it a little tighter. But pretty fun build. J Concepts body on it that I've made look all dented, like it's rolled over and bent through quite a bit. But yeah, absolutely love this truck still. That's why it's getting the upgrades here. And I want the new. I want the new in here. Now granted, if I were to look up the Python Pro, it technically has some better specs. So I'm saying I'm putting in the new. I may go back because I definitely am going to want this Micro Python in a small build that I have coming that I'll hopefully get tonight. And so we'll put it in there. But it has to run a micro Komodo in that thing. That's already pre-installed with special mounts and all that. So we'll just hook this up just for, I think, space. And that's where this is going to shine. So if we're looking at the Axios X24, looking at electronics, if we look at the Python Pro, it's a 40 amp, 70 amp burst, and it'll do to 4S. So they're $120 though. So what I'm running here, and this is an early one, so it doesn't have the Pro stamping or anything, but it's 40 amp, and it'll get you a little bit more power going to it. Where this is only 25 amp, and it's running 2S, 3S. Max versus that can go to 4S. So those are some of the variations and the differences in them. But man, Furitek has changed the game. That's all I can say. They have changed the game in these minis. So I'm going to get to it. I'm going to get this thing installed in here, and we'll get back and get some run footage of this thing going. All right, so we got the truck now ready to go. It's plugged in, battery's in. We don't have everything mounted where it needs to go yet. We'll work on that in a minute. First, we want to make sure we've got everything in the app as it needs to be. So we're going to go ahead and get the Furitek app open on here. So there's Furicar. All right, so we have 2 listed. They both just say RC car. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so we're in. We're connected. 1, 2, 3, 4 is the password to get into it. Now we're just going to make sure everything is set right. So we got to set forward reverse with brake. Output, we want 7.4. Cool. We're going to do counterclockwise. Starter up, power mid. All this looks okay. You go to throttle. Now we want to set our calibration here. So with our throttle, we're going to hit calibrate. Start, yes. 0 speed, hit OK. Max speed, hit OK. Max brake, hit OK. Save it, yes. Okay, now we're also going to go in and look and just see we are set to crawler, brushless, mini Komodo. There's different things you can choose in here. Brush, brushless, we are on the mini Komodo, so that's good. So we're going to go back out of here. Battery, voltage correction factor, voltage is 7.8, so I don't have a full battery right now. The voltage cutoff, I set to none. That way if I get a little brownout, it won't cut out. Let's see how we are doing here. I'm just going to test this before I lock everything in, make sure we're okay with it, how it's all running. So I'm just going to strap some wires in and give it a quick test. Good, sounds like my mesh is a little tight. A little bit of a tight mesh, so we go back in and set that again. I don't need to do that on camera, so I'm going to stop the camera for a minute. I'm going to work on getting my mesh set right because I can still access it without having to remove it all the way again. So that's handy. Try going over this guy here. Oh, smooth. Oh yeah. All right guys, there you have it. The Furitek Micro Python and the Mini Komodo V2. And it's all installed in my old Furitek Scythe carbon fiber chassis. All ready to go to a comp tonight. And I think we'll do pretty good with it. You know, it's not going to necessarily be the ESC or motor's fault because a lot of it's driver. But we'll see how it does and how smooth it handles everything. We can judge that. We can check some of the temps and stuff on it. I noticed it was getting hot a little bit in here, and maybe it's just going to run hot because it is small and the heat sink is smaller, so that may put out more heat. So those are things that we'll check out as we comp this and go. But very cool for small builds. It's going to be able to pack them in there nice and tight and do well for you. But man, I love that they're continuing to innovate. They're continuing to push the boundaries. I'm going to work on getting my stuff all packed up here so we can keep pushing the boundaries with our trucks at the comps and have a good time. So thanks for tuning in as always, guys. More to come. I'll have links down in the description for you below. Again, this is the Micro Silk that comes with the Mini Komodo. If you want it with the Micro Komodo motor, they're calling that the Micro Motor or Micro Moto. And so you'll want to check that out if you want to get a little bit smaller motor size for your builds. But man, these things are so good. These have been treating me so well for so long. And I really I can't believe how far they've come and how far they continue to keep pushing and see how much smaller and how much better they can make it for all of us to enjoy as we go out there and we run them. So hats off to Furitek on that. And again, this isn't really a review of performance or anything like that. It's just showing you what the product is. We run them. We've run them for years and have been very happy with the brand. There are little finicky things that we've dealt with over the years, but there's been nothing that's stepped up and been even close to it as far as features, accessibility through the Bluetooth app and all of that. But Furitek's been killing it, and it looks like they've done it again. So let's go have some fun. Have fun seeing you guys. Catch you next time. This is the first go with that ESC. Let's hope.
There's something ain't right.
Something doesn't sound tasty. That may be my mesh. All right, so right out of the gate, not a great start. User error, of course. When I went back to reset the mesh because it was too tight, I ended up setting it too loose, and I didn't have time to run it. So right after I got done recording that intro to the video and kind of installing and doing everything, I realized, oh my goodness, I've got to go pick my kids up from school. I'm going to be late. So I jumped in the truck and I headed out because I also had to help with some tear down and clean up stuff. So I had to be there earlier than normal, and I wasn't factoring that in. And I was hoping to run it on my little home track indoors and get some footage of it talking, and I didn't have time to do that. So showed up to reaction, and as you saw, the mesh was way too loose, but it was a quick fix. In about 5 minutes, I was able to get it set, running good. You can tell it's also much smoother sounding now. You're not hearing any of the too tight mesh or that clickety-click that I ended up with once I hit against something that was an obstacle. On my table, it sounded great, but the second we ran into obstacles, you could tell that there was something wrong and it was too loose. The things that I was actually testing overall, though, the motor and the ESC, they performed pretty well, I felt, for 25 amp, running it on 2S, not even having the extra power or volts of having it up on a 3S. It was plenty for what I am used to and how I drive. So, I hate it.
Yeah,
Dang it.
I only use them when I really need. Like, the XYs are just so much nicer.
That's driver. Overall, I felt like it was smooth where it needed to be. Any of the kind of start-stopping is just me. I like to go slow at things and prep my lines and all that.
Oh,
Did I hit it?
Yeah. I got a mini cube.
Gosh.
Yeah, the Cobra? Yeah.
Cobra 2 Plus, yeah. I think I put like 200 or something on it.
I wish mine.
I just hit both gates. But the ESC itself was very smooth in its power delivery, and put the truck right where I want it to go. You know, being a little bit faster motor with a 2500 kV over 2000, not something I notice in just my normal driving here. So that's not something I can speak to. I just felt like most Furitek things, it performed well, and I was pretty happy with it. And I did get my new build, and this is going to fit into it beautifully. I got a CCxRC build, and it's very tight and amazing looking, so I will like having this smaller ESC, I believe, in that build. Right now I'm running a Lizard Pro that's in a case, one of the plastic cases, and it does fine. but I think having the smaller thing in here, the Micro Python, will be even nicer in that build. So lots of options, but overall handle pretty good and very, very happy with it. So again, I can't say enough about how great it is that Furitek keeps just pushing this market further and further and giving us more options. I was a little afraid when they started putting everything in cases that we were going to struggle to start fitting them into our tighter builds that we were doing. Even the ones that didn't have cases were a little tricky in some, and they've made this thing so tiny that it should help out a lot of people that are doing really custom builds that are tight comp trucks, or even if you're doing it where you're going for scale hard body trucks, but you want interiors, you're going to be looking at something like this, I can tell. So anyway, thanks for tuning in as always, guys. Have fun RCing. We'll catch you in the next video. And it's tiny, so that's a benefit.
Size next to a quarter. I'm like, holy cow! That's like
that's a dime.
Yeah, that was a dime.
It's a dime.
Oh, okay. I guess
Yeah.
it's a lot smaller than I thought. Even. You have to show it to me when you're done.
It's only 25 amp though. So the Pro is 40 with a 70 burst, and it can do 4S. This will do 2 or 3S, but it's 25 with a 50 burst, which the others are 30 with a 50 burst. So
I probably want to run it at least on 3S then in order to get some decent servos.
more,
man.
I bet, yeah.
You can do a BAC, but then you're going to start.
This has a BEC, a 5 amp BEC in it, so it'll do 7.4 volt.
It's
So
still not bad though.
yeah,
I mean,
that's why I got it on here. So
I mean,
it's not terrible,
not for as tiny
especially if
as
you
it
need
is.
it in a small build. Yeah, if that's really what you're.
Something like Brandon's truck or something like that, where somebody's struggling because they got a big receiver.
That did it.
Well, he runs the Furitek too, so their receivers are like micro. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
just
oh
as
yeah,
small
dude,
as
you
the
should see how
ESC.
small everything is in here.
That's why I love
It's stupid.